Hello everybody and welcome back to the Endless Party. Today we are excited to share with you, this episode's kind of cool because we did a real life experiment on a principle that we learned from one of the new books that we've read.
Yep.
So we have recently read the book by Norman Vincent Peale. I have it right here. It's called You Can If You Think You Can. And basically it's just a book about eliminating can't out of your vocabulary and making your dreams come true based on your mentality, like the mentality of you can if you think you can.
Mm-hmm.
So there's kind of a backstory to this whole podcast. We recently moved and we are in need of a couch.
Yeah.
We haven't bought furniture our whole marriage. We lived in some furnished apartments, and when we got here, we realized, to make our house a home, we would like to buy a couch and just a couple other things to, furnish the place. So why do you keep sharing?
So we wanted to buy a couch, but we didn't want to break the bank, right, so to speak. So we decided that instead of we're going to use our savings or anything that we've stored away for a rainy day, we decided that we're going to find a way to make money in an alternative sort of fashion.
Yes, and we were also, I think, inspired by just people around us who we saw were just making money. And just
odd ways.
Yeah, in just odd ways. And so I was like, oh my goodness, let's not take it out of our savings account. Let's try to
let's try to
make this money. I really want a couch.
Yeah, and so what we did was we actually took 4 principles from this book. You can if you think you can. He has, I think, 14 principles, but these 4 are what we focused on. And so we're going to kind of just dissect them and even show you the clips from what we decided to go and actually do and how we actually earned money. And I'm going to be completely honest, I was like, I don't even know why. I was like this little storm cloud. I was just super negative, and I looked for every single way that it wouldn't work. And it was just garbage. So honestly now, we're gonna cut to a clip real quick from our experience, and that way you guys get an understanding of what it is that we actually did.
There's Sharif. That is not Sharif. Okay.
Okay, so we decided that we were going to do an experiment to pay for our rent.
We're going to see if we can sell hot chocolate to high school kids.
So I don't even know the legal parameters of this whatsoever. So I'm really
So we didn't look into them, so we didn't know.
So it's like, what's that phrase?
If it ain't fixed.
No.
It ain't, bro.
It's like, I don't know. Basically,
fish out of water.
Something along the lines of, if you don't know, you don't get in trouble.
What you don't know can't hurt you?
No, I don't know. Anyways, so we're going to go sell the world's best hot chocolate today.
We have the world's best sales
I'll show you the sign here in a minute. And
we have the world's
luckily,
best sales girls
we don't have to do a lot of selling. Like Meg said, we have our 2 baby girls that will probably do the selling for us. So wish us luck. We'll see how this goes, and we'll keep you updated.
Peace!
Okay, so as you can see from the clip, we decided that we were going to make a hot chocolate stand instead of a lemonade stand because Pocatello is cold right now. And so lemonade we decided wouldn't sell, and as we, realizing we live in the great city of Pocatello, Idaho, there's not a lot of
There's no place to sell.
Right, it's not like we're on the beach in California or Times Square. We're not in a
big university.
No, we're not in a city.
There's a small university.
Right, but we're not in a city where there's a lot of people, or huge destinations where people go. Huge public places. So the best place I thought of in this city were high school.
Yep.
Where high school is. And I thought, hey, we're pretty cool. Why don't we start talking to high schoolers?
In that clip too, I meant to say it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission at times. Because we had no idea what it was that we were doing. We didn't know if it was even allowed. But we decided to just send it anyways because you can if you think you can, right?
Yeah, and as we talk about this experience, it was just really cool because it was just cool to take an idea and then put it into actual fruition and then see results. And it was really cool too because it was something that was so simple, it's interesting because you don't see a lot of people doing it either. How many people do you know have shown up to local high schools and just started selling hot chocolate to
No, for sure.
high schoolers?
It's interesting too. So like the first principle he talks about is all the resources are in your mind. So this was kind of a cool experience just because, like I said, I was looking for every way it wouldn't work. And Meg actually was the one that was like, yo, let's just do this. Let's get it done. Let's go sell hot chocolate to high school students. And finally I was like, you know what? Yeah, let's just do it. So we actually did it, and it was pretty cool because, I mean, don't get me wrong, we didn't make like crazy amount of money because we didn't want to rip these kids off.
No, we sold it for $1. $1 for a cup of hot
But
chocolate.
what's interesting is we actually ended up making like, I want to say it was like $15 in like half an hour.
Yeah.
You know, and so it was pretty cool, and the whole experience was just a fun and enjoyable process, especially with that first principle of all the resources are already in your mind, and really it's just taking action. And that's all it was for us. Is we got the hot chocolate from my mom's house, mind you, because she had a bunch of it.
She did.
And so it was the cheapest startup ever. And then we made this like little sign that you'll see in another clip here shortly, and that was it. Like, it was such a cheap startup, and we ended up making money.
And we ran the business, as you can tell from the back of our car.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so what we're trying to say, you know, is all the resources you need are in your mind. And that's what Norman Vincent Peale says. So meaning, if you want to make money, if you want to do something, it's like you already have all the tools you could ever need within yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what really happened. Like, I just wanted a couch, so we just started brainstorming on like, well, what could we do? And this whole hot chocolate business and everything, it came from our minds, you know?
Yeah.
And so really, like, the start, and what's interesting too is like the start of any great business or any great endeavor, usually it comes from within, right? Like, I don't know how, I'm trying to say, like, you know, you don't go, like, Steve Jobs didn't go out and like someone handed him the idea for like Apple. He made it in his mind. Everything he needed for Apple was already like within himself, which is pretty cool. And everything we needed to make this, you know, make some money was in ourselves too, with this hot chocolate stand in like a small way.
No, absolutely. It's pretty cool just because it's really put into perspective just how powerful the human spirit is. Because it's like literally you just put into action your ideas and insights that you have, and they work.
Yes.
You know, and that was what was cool about this experience, is it actually sparked other ideas for us in the future, right? Is all of a sudden we came up with another business idea that we wanted to pursue, and other ideas that really wouldn't have happened had we not taken action with the simple hot chocolate business in the first place.
I mean, it was just so inspiring because like we set out to make money and we did.
Yeah.
And it was just pretty cool. Like,
It was cool. I'm gonna be real, like those high school kids were like, I don't know, they were just like super awkward and really intimidated by
honestly,
us.
I think
Some of them were really
I think they paid
totally
us
chill.
to like leave them alone.
No, honestly, that's really what it was. It was like, I don't even want this hot chocolate. Mind you, it was good hot chocolate.
It was good hot
chocolate.
chocolate.
We did a good job.
Like we did.
Like,
like,
it was worth
we
$1.
made, It was worth $1. It was a nice cup. We put marshmallows in it.
Yeah.
You know, we made it
But
by hand.
mainly they wanted us to get out of their faces.
Pretty much. I think they
And
were
that's
embarrassed
why-
that we were drawing attention to them. But anyways.
And that's why they wanted us to like, they were like, here's $1, now leave me alone.
But anyways, all the resources you need are in your mind. And as I was thinking about this principle, there was a quote that came to mind by another book by Og Mandino, and it's called The Greatest Miracle in the World.
Great book. He's one of my favorite
It's
authors.
such a good book. It's a very inspiring book, and the reason why is basically at the end of the story, he helps you to realize that you are the greatest miracle in the world. And all the capacities that you possess in the human body is nothing short of a miracle. So we have a quote that kind of ties in with this principle, and it talks about the power of the mind.
Do you want to read it, Meg?
I think
or do you
you
want
should.
me to read it? Okay. So he says, are you feeble of mind? Can you no longer think for yourself? No. Your brain is the most complex structure in the universe, I know. Within its 3 pounds are 13 billion nerve cells, more than 3 times as many cells as there are people on your earth. To help you file away every perception, every sound, every taste, every smell, every action, you have experienced since the day of your birth. I have implanted within your cells more than 1,000 billion protein molecules. Every incident in your life is there waiting only your recall. And to assist your brain in the control of your body, I have dispersed throughout your form 4 million pain-sensitive structures, 500,000 touch detectors, and more than 200,000 temperature detectors. No nation's gold is better protected than you. None of your ancient wonders are greater than you. You are my finest creation. Which honestly is like pretty mind-blowing.
It really
Which
is.
is kind of funny because it's talking about your mind. But it is mind-blowing because just to think about how intricate your brain in and of itself is. So no wonder all the resources you need are already in your mind, right? Like it just makes sense.
Yeah, it's just so inspiring that because of even this nation that we live in and who we are as human beings, we have the capacity to really accomplish whatever we set out to do.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you can't, and you especially can when you think you can.
Yeah.
When you eliminate that can't out of your vocabulary and you just choose to pursue action and figure out how you can make it work.
Yeah. It's just incredible. I mean, just on this principle alone, we've learned so much and we've just tried to implement it and we've seen the results. And so we encourage all of you to try it. Like just see what you can create just with yourself alone, just thinking. I actually want to sidestep into the next principle, which is what are you afraid of? Forget it. And I actually want to take you to this clip because it's hilarious. And this was the entire process where we sold to high school kids. Meg just didn't care at all, which was so awesome. She was just like, you know what? I don't even care. So then she would just chase these high schoolers down. This is a short clip. Do it.
Meg's been just hunting people down. It's pretty awesome.
So she legit just would honestly just chase him down all the time. She's like, I'm gonna go get those guys. I'm gonna go get this girl. And because of that, we ended up with probably, I would say, 10 to 15 more sales easily.
Yeah, and what was also cool about this experience is we also used it as a means to get more subscribers to our channel,
Yeah.
which I thought was also pretty cool. So, within this experience and this principle, what are you afraid of? Forget it. I think it actually has kind of a backstory for me. So when I was in middle school and even initially in high school, I was actually incredibly just self-conscious and I was afraid to be who I really was. And I look back and I think I don't have a lot of regrets in my life, but I think that's one of my biggest regrets is that I was afraid to be who I really was, during those points in my life. And I think because I was afraid, to be the confident, energetic, enthusiastic person that I am, I missed out on a lot of opportunities. I missed out on meeting people and I missed out on a lot of, just experiences. And as I kind of came to find myself, towards the end of high school and into college, and especially after marrying Elijah and becoming a mom, it's I've come to realize I have nothing to be afraid of in being who I am. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting, when all of us are true to who we are, we all are these confident, happy, successful individuals. That's who we were born to be. And so, I guess my challenge to you is what are you afraid of in being yourself? Just be who you are, and this hot chocolate stand was kind of cool because it kind of tested all the principles that we talk about.
Yeah, every principle we talk about on this podcast all of a sudden came into reality with thousands of high schoolers.
Because it was super interesting, when we would show up at these high schools, we kind of had to not get into character, but we had to get really excited about what we were selling.
It's
because we were putting ourselves out there,
Well, what's interesting is Meg actually made this observation. Wasn't that we were selling hot chocolate, we were selling ourselves, right? Anybody can go buy hot chocolate, and most of them probably had hot chocolate mix at home.
Yeah, definitely they did.
Right, especially in Pocatello, Idaho.
Yes.
But the reality was, the kids, well, two things. Kids either really liked us and thought we were dope,
Or they
and
did
then
not
they
like
bought hot
it.
chocolate, or they bought hot chocolate because they wanted us to leave them alone. Which
Or they
either
just
way
walked
was fun.
away.
But it's a pretty cool concept, and I think just to even emphasize this further, it's not only a risk, like you should be your authentic self and be enthusiastic and be who you were meant to be, but also I think so many people are afraid to take the risk in pursuing what it is that makes them happy, or their business, or whatever it is they're wanting to accomplish in life. People are afraid. And I like what Norman Vincent Peale says, because he says, what are you afraid of? And then just forget it.
Right.
Like, he's like, who cares? Like, drop it to the wayside. Like, turn away from it, because there was actually, this reminds me of a quote that we just recently read, and it was like, 8 years from now, you will be much more upset that you didn't take the risk of pursuing your dreams, because you will be 8 years older, and you will be that much more miserable because you have spent the last 8 years debating whether or not to take the
Yeah.
risk. So really, it's like, yeah, you should be slightly nervous to take a risk, but you should be more nervous
To
not
not,
take
yeah.
the risk, because that's what's going to eat away at you.
Sure. So within the experience of selling hot chocolate, you know, what was the worst thing that could happen? The worst thing that could happen was these kids would say no, and they would reject our hot chocolate and our idea. But the thing is,
And they did.
And they did. And
A lot of them.
most
majority
most
of
of them did. But actually a lot said yes too.
Yeah.
And what's cool is like we could focus on all the kids that said no, but instead this podcast is about all the kids that chose to say yes.
Mhm.
That's what we're focusing on in this experience. And so I think too we had to like put ourselves out there and not be like, rejection was inevitable. Not everyone was going to buy
It
a
was
cup of
gonna
hot
happen.
chocolate, especially when you're dealing with teenagers.
That'd be really
Like,
convenient if they all bought one, because we'd be
Yeah,
like, pretty wealthy
we
right now.
would have 3 couches at this point, but but anyways, that was, you know, what was the worst that could happen? The worst is that they could say no, and like, I don't know, don't be afraid of rejection. It's inevitable.
Well,
That's just
and
like kind
it's
of part
actually
of
a
life.
perfect leeway into our third principle, which is ease up, have a sense of humor, and that's how we took it every time we like got a no. Like Meg was, it's so easy to just bounce it off, you know. And I mean, granted, we're also older, so that probably helps. Like, we don't really care what high schoolers
No, I mean, we're very sure in who we are, and our
Yeah.
like worth doesn't come from whether the kids are
think,
buying
whether or
cups of
not
hot
a high
chocolate.
schooler will buy a cup of hot chocolate. But what was cool about this process is like there was one experience. We have the clip, but it's not the greatest material, so we're just gonna relay the story. And there was this kid, Meg, again, just took off after these like
These kids
this
would be
group
like
of,
walking to their
5
cars,
kids.
and I just would like send it.
And so she ended up walking up to him, and they were like, "Hey, you want to buy us like the world's best hot chocolate? It's $1." This kid's like, "I only have a $50 bill." She goes, "Dude, 50 cups." Like, without hesitation, she immediately just is like, "Yo, just buy 50 cups. Perfect."
No worries, we'll just have 50. And,
Yeah,
and of
and
course
like the
he's
kid
like,
just like starts laughing, and then he's like, yeah, no, like, that's not happening." But it was fun just because this whole process and this whole experience, even though we were rejected time and time again, we were able to just laugh it off and have a sense of humor about it. And because of that, honestly, the experience was just a positive experience.
it was so fun.
Even though we probably had 20 no's to every one yes.
Yeah, honestly, it was like so fun.
It was
too.
fun. It was just a
Like
blast.
we came back and we were just like amped because it was just so
It was
fun.
so fun. And then we did it again.
And here's something we did it again.
We did it twice.
We did it 2
different high
times.
schools.
So the thing too about like ease up, have a sense of humor is something that I've discovered in life is that it's so much easier to laugh about situations than cry about situations.
Yeah.
So if I can turn something super negative into something very positive or funny, then normally life is a lot better. And I actually want to take the example. So Elijah and I, we have a very open relationship, but of course, like any couple, like we experience conflict. You know, it would be ridiculous to assume
Assume
that
that
we never have problems. But what's interesting
We
is
don't. We're perfect.
no,
No,
we're
we're
definitely
not.
not. But what's interesting, when we're in these kind of more heated situations,
Tussles.
it makes me laugh. It makes me laugh.
Conflicts.
When we are in these more heated situations and feelings are getting a little bit more like just serious, and you know, Elijah and I have started to kind of just like laugh at ourselves when we are kind of mad. And the way we do it, the way I break up, you know, the thing is, normally like a phrase will be said or someone will say something, and normally I'll come up to Elijah and be like, I mean, it sounds like it's not joking, but it is, and I'll be like, I'm really mad at you. And I say it in a voice that's not like yelling. I'm just like, I'm mad at you. And he goes, I know. And he goes, I'm mad at you. And in doing that, normally we start laughing, and then we can like work through. And then
That's
actually,
super easy. Usually
honestly,
that's
as
it.
soon as the person said, well, I'm mad at you, then like
Pretty much over.
it's like over in that moment.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It just works out
Well,
for a
I think
relationship.
it's just have a sense of humor about it, because sometimes, I mean, anybody who's listening to this that's in a relationship knows that some of the stuff that you
It's
argue about
most
is
most of the
it's
stuff
so
is so
dumb.
dumb.
like, it's the most petty and pathetic squabbles that you could
Most
ever
of it's
imagine.
so dumb.
But it's funny because we finally end up, as soon as the other person says like, I'm mad at you, it's like, oh yeah, well,
And I think I realized why
it's
it's
kind
funny.
of a joke, so
I think it's funny because like when the person says I'm mad at you, it's very petty, and then it like
it's
it's
into
it
perspective
puts into
how petty.
how petty the fight
Yeah.
is, because you're like, well, I'm mad at you,
That's a good
and then
point.
and then I think then it's like super funny,
Yeah, I would agree with that.
and the other
actually.
person like can't help but smile.
Yeah. So through this whole process, honestly, just have a sense of humor with whatever it is that you want to pursue, because it is so much better to laugh than it is to cry in this life. So much better. And because of that, our relationship's better. The hot chocolate experience was better.
It was so fun.
Everything in life is better. And I mean, don't get me wrong, there's times that you should cry in your life. There's sad things that happen. But for the most part, when it comes to taking risks and dreaming and believing in yourself, like, it is better to just laugh it off.
Yeah, ease up, have a sense
Ease
of
up,
humor.
have a sense of humor. So this last principle was pretty awesome, because he says it's always too soon to quit. Meaning, there's never a good time to quit. You should never quit. And we're actually going to pull to this clip, because I was ready to pack up shop. Granted, lunch was getting close to being over, so like we didn't really have kids there anymore.
I think I was still in the parking lot trying to sell my little
Yeah.
heart out.
And so finally I was just like, yo, Meg, you ready? And then, so let's just cut to the clip. Alright, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Hey, you want to buy the world's best hot chocolate?
I don't have any money on me right
Do you have
now.
Venmo?
No.
What? Tell you what, do you have a YouTube? Are you on
A what?
YouTube? YouTube?
Yeah.
If you subscribe to our channel, I'll give you one for free.
Okay.
What's your name?
Roxana.
Roxana? Ah, that's a nice name.
What's your name?
Elijah. That's my wife and our two baby girls over there.
Aww. What?
Okay, if you go at the Endless Party. So yeah, that's what the clip was. And when I was like ready to pack up shop, sure enough, this like senior, I don't even remember her name. It's in the
Roxana?
clip. Roxana?
I think it was Roxana.
Something like that.
Roxana.
She was a senior,
She's
and
very
then she
nice.
was like walks past, and she like ends up subscribing. So that was super cool. But it honestly like taught us the principle that it is always too soon to quit. Like there's always one more person out there that's willing to buy hot chocolate, or listen to your dream, or whatever it is that you were striving to accomplish.
Sure. I think two phrases I repeat in my mind daily, and I love them so much. One is, I don't believe in defeat. I don't believe in defeat. And I say that over and over as Elijah and I are just working through just whatever we are in the day. And then the second one is, persist until you succeed. And I think the longer I've been alive and the more I've come to understand what life is about, those who succeed are the ones who persist. Persistence is one of the best qualities I think you can choose to adopt in your life. Persist, persist, persist. Never give up, never surrender. Keep the fight up. Don't quit.
Yeah, now I'm amped. But no, it's actually kind of, it's cool. And here's what's crazy is this experiment might seem a little silly, just because it was like it is a little silly. We were selling hot chocolate to high schoolers, but at the end of the day, it taught us the value that all of these principles can be applied in every aspect of your life, including this podcast, including other business ventures that we are striving to accomplish, including your marriage, including relationships, including everything, right? Like I said, it was a silly experiment, but at the end of the day, it showed that the principle "you can if you think you can" works.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it is not just this fictitious motivational phrase. It is foundational and, like, what am I trying to say? It flat out works.
It just works.
Yeah.
It's just like proven to work.
Yeah,
we proved it.
it's like gravity, right?
It's
Like,
just there.
You try to go
It's
prove
just the
that
law of the
gravity
universe.
doesn't exist, and real quick, you jump off a building, you're going to find out gravity exists. This principle is just as dominant as gravity. Like, if you believe it, you can actually accomplish it, and it's pretty awesome.
Especially, you know, if you use the resources in your mind. I think this principle too, you can if you think you can. I think Elijah and I have personally really seen it in our lives within like the world of athletics.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I'll just share a little bit. I'll share a story. So in high school, I started running when I was 14. I just started on the high school track team. I didn't have any background. I didn't have any, you know, fancy training. I just joined the high school track team, and pretty soon I realized that, you know, you can have an opportunity to be a college athlete, and you can run at the collegiate level. And so pretty soon I had this dream college I'd always wanted to attend, and pretty soon I realized, like, oh my goodness, like, I want to run fast enough so I can, you know, run at this school. And I was like, you know, for the training I did, like, I was relatively good, you know. But what was interesting is, you know, my senior year, I really wanted to make it onto this team. And there were a couple of people in my life who they just told me I probably wasn't going to make it. My times weren't fast enough, whatever.
Poop heads.
Pretty much. But I had this, like, deep resolve within my heart that I was going to make it. And I just seriously didn't think about the option.
Well, let me interrupt real quick, because she also contacted the head coach of that university and said, what do I need to do to get there?
That is part of the story too. First, you know, I used all the resources I could. I trained as hard as I could. I contacted the coach. You know, I showed up to a meet that I knew that she would be at. Like, I did all the things I knew to make it into this school. And then I just had this, you know, mentality that I was going to run there. And there wasn't anything anyone could say or do to, like, stop me from getting there. And so I make it through the track season, I run at my state meet, and I, you know, emailed the coach my times, and sure enough, she granted me a spot on my team. You know, I did it. And to most people, you know, who knew me, they didn't think I was gonna make it, but I did. And I think what was cool is, you know, I married Elijah, and I soon realized that there was a lot more I could have been doing in high school that I didn't know I wasn't doing to train. But I think the biggest, like, my biggest advantage, and the reason why I made it, is just that belief that I knew I could do it.
No, absolutely.
And I saw it work. You know,
Yeah.
I put in all the work that year on the track, and then I made it to my dream school, and it was so fun. So.
Well, no, I actually have a similar story. So my freshman year of high school, my dad took me to the state championship for the high school athletes in the division that I'd be competing in the next year when I was in 8th grade. And so I watched as these, you know, to me they were high school giants win state championships, and I was like, wow, like these guys are incredible. And luckily I had a very supportive father who coached me through the entire process, and who was a college athlete himself, but he also was like, no, like, you can be there, like, you can be at this level. And so beginning of my freshman year in cross country, I was like, okay, yeah, like maybe, like, I'm pretty good, but like we'll see what happens. And I ended up racing the defending state champion, and I lost by like 100th of a second. And that moment, I was like, I can win the state championship.
I can do this.
I can win this. Like, he just barely beat me, and like, I know I can win this. And so I put in the work, just as Meg did, to get to the college that she wanted to run for, by contacting the coaches, putting in the work, running the times. And I ended up talking to my dad, who was my coach, and I said, look, I know I can do this. Like, what do I need to do this? And it ended up that I won the state championship as a freshman, and because of that, it was just that undying belief. I remember standing on the starting line of the state championship and saying, like,
This is
I have
mine.
done everything to
Yeah.
prepare. No one is going to take this from me. And it's cool because we've seen this principle work in our lives in just a small and simple ways like hot chocolate, as well as larger ways like running for our dream
College
school
scholarships.
or winning a state championship.
And I think too, I mean, I'm so thankful for just that role that athletics played in my life, that it gave me that belief of setting a goal, using all my resources I had, you know, and then reaching it. Because even now in mine and Elijah's life, people
We do
have,
the same thing.
we do the same thing, but people tell us we can't do it
All
every
the time.
day. All the day.
All
Probably
the days.
all the days. Pretty.
All the days.
How many times do you think we hear it a week?
A week? Oh.
Ugh, almost daily.
Honestly, not that often because we just don't listen to them.
Well, now we don't listen, but people don't believe in this podcast. People don't believe in the lifestyle that Elijah and I are choosing.
Wanting to live and
choosing to live every day. And people don't believe that, like, you know, that the way we choose to measure our life is a measure of success.
And here's what's kind of cool about those people, though. They also are bringing this principle to life because they believe they can't and they're right.
Yes.
And they would also be right if they believed they could. But the problem is there's actually a poem, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't.
Right.
You're right. And so that's what we choose to believe, is we believe that we can. And we we really hope everybody that's listening to this podcast or watching this podcast will believe in themselves, will believe that they have the capacity to do great and marvelous things, because we all have it in ourselves to do those great and marvelous things. We've seen it in our own lives, just from our athletics, just from a hot chocolate experience, and just from this podcast. You know, and what's cool is, like, there's nothing unique about me and Meg. I mean, there's obviously a lot of unique things about me and Meg.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that every single person has special talents and abilities that they should be sharing with the world. And all you need is a little bit of belief in yourself.
Absolutely. You have every resource you need within inside yourself. So once you one, believe in those resources, and then two, like, never believe in defeat, 3, keep a sense of humor, and 4, persist until you succeed. Like, you will be successful. You can.
It's inevitable.
You can if you think you can.
Absolutely. And that is today's episode.
That's the
ladies and
episode,
gentlemen.
folks.
So, believe in yourself. You can if you think you can.
And also,
go ahead.
wait, what were you
No,
gonna say?
go ahead.
No, you go.
No, by all means.
It's the last thing I wanted
That's
to say.
fine, cool.
Okay. If you would like to subscribe so we can buy a couch,
Subscribe
please
now.
do so. Please do so, because
We would greatly appreciate
we
it.
would, we'd like a couch.
Yeah.
It would be nice. A couch, maybe a lamp.
We're
But
a
if
family
not,
of 4.
We're a
Okay?
family of 4.
And we have 2 chairs.
so
2.
2 chairs. So anyways,
Like, subscribe.
do whatever we need to. No, you'll hear that later.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thanks,
guys. We
guys.
appreciate it. Till next time.
Peace.